Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about a growing trend that honestly affects all of us, from our grandparents to the very foundations of our society, and that's the dismissal of experience.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a number that might surprise you: 80%. Now, this figure represents something that's deeply personal, super widespread, and a reality that touches the lives of most older adults. So, what's that 80% all about? Well, it's the percentage of adults over 50 who report experiencing age-based discrimination in their daily lives. It's a prejudice that's so common it's practically hiding in plain sight. We're going to start right here with ageism, because it's one of the most obvious and personal ways that we, as a society, devalue experience.
You know, this isn't a new problem, and we often hear it framed as this big cultural divide. The conventional wisdom is that Eastern cultures, guided by Confucian values, really put older adults on a pedestal of wisdom and respect. And then you have Western cultures, which are seen as way more youth-obsessed, with values that often tie a person's worth directly to how productive they are.
But here's where it gets a little more complicated. While we might think of Eastern cultures as being less ageist, the research tells a different story. A huge study across 26 different cultures found something pretty fascinating. Basically, people everywhere agreed on what changes with age. Yeah, a decrease in physical attractiveness and ability to learn new things, but a big increase in knowledge, wisdom, and the respect you get. The conclusion? Eastern cultures did show a bit more compassion, but those negative views on aging, they were surprisingly widespread. This is a global issue, not just a Western one.
So, what's really driving this? If it's not just a simple cultural difference, then there has to be something deeper going on, right? Something more fundamentally human at play.
Well, the answer seems to lie in a very specific, and let's be honest, a very human fear. It actually has a name: gerontophobia. And this isn't just about disliking older people. It's a fear of aging itself, of our own bodies breaking down, and it's all tied up in one of our biggest anxieties, the fear of death.
And this isn't just some abstract anxiety. It shows up in very real ways. Seeing an older person can act like a memento mori, a direct reminder of our own mortality. And when we're not willing to accept that reality, that discomfort can actually curdle into hostility and discrimination.
And this hostility has some severe, measurable consequences. We're not just talking about hurt feelings here. Studies show that experiencing ageism is directly linked to a shorter lifespan, poorer health, slower recovery from illness, and even a greater risk of cognitive decline. It's a terrible cycle, where the prejudice actually helps create the negative outcomes it's based on.
Now, of course, this bias plays out every single day in one of the most critical parts of modern life, the workplace. And here, dismissing experience isn't just a social problem, it's a massive strategic blunder.
In today's corporate world, there's this undeniable showdown, right? Youth versus experience. Younger employees are often seen as being agile and great with tech. They've got that quick attitude. On the flip side, you have seasoned professionals who bring priceless knowledge and loyalty, but they get slapped with this unfair label of being slow or unable to adapt. And this whole way of thinking, it creates so much friction. As this quote points out, there's this really troubling trend of younger professionals not wanting to work with their older colleagues. This isn't just a personality clash, it's a breakdown in how we pass on knowledge, and it just makes that generational divide even wider.
So, all this brings us to a really crucial question. Is this dismissal of the wisdom and experience of older people just an isolated problem, or is it a symptom of something much, much bigger? Are we starting to devalue expertise in all its forms?
The answer, unfortunately, seems to be yes. And this is where we zoom out from the specific problem of ageism to a much broader and frankly more dangerous societal issue: the rise of anti-intellectualism and what some call the death of expertise itself.
You know, the writer Isaac Asimov actually nailed the core of this problem decades ago. He warned of a cult of ignorance, and he said it's fueled by this totally false idea that in a democracy all opinions are equally valid. This dangerous belief that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge.
So how does this cult of ignorance get so powerful? Well, it's basically supercharged by some common glitches in how our brains are wired. The first one is confirmation bias. We're all hardwired to look for info that confirms what we already think. We accept facts that fit our story, and we just toss out data that doesn't. And then you add another weird psychological quirk to the mix, the fact that often the people who know the least are the most confident they know everything. This is a perfect illustration of that, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It shows that people with low ability just tend to massively overestimate how good they are. As the original researchers, Dunning and Kruger, put it, this creates a kind of double curse. The incompetent don't just make mistakes, but their incompetence itself stops them from even realizing they're making mistakes. It explains why arguing with someone who's just profoundly wrong can be so exhausting. They might literally lack the tools to see the truth.
Okay, so what happens when you take that confirmation bias, you mix it with the Dunning-Kruger effect, and that becomes the cultural norm? Well, the consequences for society are profound. We end up in this really dangerous place where every opinion is treated as equal, no matter if it's based on facts or just feelings.
And look, the issue isn't just that people don't know things. It's something way more active and corrosive. It's the aggressive replacement of expert views. It's this insistence that your personal feelings, your gut instinct, or 5 minutes on Google is somehow equivalent to years of dedicated study and experience. And when you reject expertise across the board, it leads to some pretty predictable and dangerous outcomes. It fuels public health crises, like we've seen when feelings about vaccines are considered more important than medical science. It destroys civil discourse, turning discussions into shouting matches, and ultimately, it weakens democracy, because a system that relies on informed citizens can't work when people reject information itself.
A lot of this comes from a huge misunderstanding of what democracy is actually all about. Political equality, one person, one vote, has somehow been twisted into a belief in intellectual equality. It's this world where, as the quote says, feelings have become more important than facts.
To really get what's at stake here, it helps to look at a framework from the anthropologist Margaret Mead. She said there were basically 3 ways cultures pass on knowledge. In a post-figurative culture, kids learn from their elders. In a co-figurative one, everyone learns from their peers. And in a prefigurative culture, adults also learn from kids, which is great for times of rapid change.
So think about it. Dismissing the knowledge of our elders, ageism, is a flat-out rejection of that first post-figurative model. But the death of expertise we've been talking about, that challenges all of them. It points to a future where we don't learn from our elders, or our peers, or even the youth, but from a noisy mass of unfiltered and often wrong opinions, which really leaves us with the question, what kind of culture are we choosing? Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it and learned something and you want to share your own opinion or experience, you can comment down below. I would love to see your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when I upload more videos like this. Have a good day. Bye.